Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Fix My Fees podcast, where merchant services is so boring. I bring on interesting people to come in and ask them questions so that they can give you new information. I am your host, Tavius Washington, and today we have someone with us who taken a little bit of a turn in how they present when it comes to brand awareness and growing your business. She is the founder and CEO of Propel Growth, which is a business-to-business marketing and sales consultancy, and has been doing this since 2007. So about 20 years of this, and really taking everything from the kind of off-brand focus of just pushing things forward to having more human-to-human relationships, which I think is really cool. And then blending those human relationships that can be enhanced with AI instead of being AI first or AI leading. So please welcome somebody who's an authority in brand awareness, Candyce Edelen. Hey, how you doing, Candyce?
Hey, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
So one thing that I saw on your page that really kind of stuck out to me was like when a lot of people feel like their biggest competition is their other competitors, right? And what you say is your competition is the invisibility. Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Well, so I work with small companies, not, massive Nike or somebody like that.
Right.
And these companies often can't afford to hire big branding agencies and spend millions of dollars on brand visibility every year. And so their biggest challenge is pipeline in many cases, or closing the pipeline, but a lot of them really struggle with a consistent pipeline, and that has just gotten significantly worse in the last few years. And I think that one of the biggest causes of the pipeline drift and becoming more shallow and less demand appearing on their doorstep is because they're invisible. People don't know who they are. AI doesn't know who they are. There was some research that Google and Bain and company did in 22. So this is before the AI models got released in terms of when they collected the data.
Right.
In that, they were saying that they interviewed over 1,000 business to business technology buyers in medium and larger enterprises who are, most of my clients are targeting that kind of company, right? And the outcome of that, to me, one of the most significant pieces of data that came out of that was that 89 of all of the buyers interviewed on that, and these were really senior executives, not junior people, said that they had identified the vendors that they were going to consider and built their short list of who they would look at before they started the buying process. All of our research and strategies around marketing in the last 20 years have been around, trying to get into the consideration phase before they make the decision, and that way we can influence the decision.
Right.
The problem is if they're creating that short list and you're not on it because you're invisible to them, they've never heard of you, they're not familiar with your brand, they're not familiar with your mindset, they're not familiar with even the why you exist or that you exist, you're not going to end up on that short list. And another question that the Bain and Google study asked was, did you add anybody else to your short list? And the answer was yes. About 90% of them did add another couple of vendors to their short list during that final research process where they were narrowing the list down. But 90% of them, a vendor from the original list of 4 or 5 on that short list. So I believe that visibility is it's always been critical, but in today's day and age, it's even more critical to build that visibility, that credibility that you actually have a solution to their problem, and the authority that you are the trusted expert in this space before they start looking. Because if you can't build it until after they're looking and you're seeing their intent signals, it's too late.
Yeah.
So that's why I say your biggest competitor is your invisibility, not another firm.
Well, what would you say if someone's like, "Whoa, Candice, I spend money on ads, and I have ads that bring people to me, and that's my visibility." In that way, what would you say to that person who feels like maybe just running ads is enough of a visibility?
So I literally just finished a draft. So by the time this podcast goes live, this article will be live on my website that talks about this specific problem. And I would posit that the martech industry, the marketing technology industry, has really messed up our expectations, because the martech space has worked for years to convince us that marketing should be measurable. And if you can't attribute
Yes.
a lead to a particular marketing campaign, then that campaign isn't working. And what they're really doing is teaching us how to harvest demand. The problem is, so other studies have come out, many studies have kind of come to the same conclusion, that between of any given target market, so you got your target addressable market, right? Any given target market, assuming it's well defined, only about 3 to 5% of that target market is in the market for what you offer, the type of solution category that you are in at any given time.
Right.
So like in credit card processing, it's like only about 5% of the total market of people using credit card processing are looking for a solution to the ridiculously high fees we're all paying right now. Right.
Right.
So what the martech industry taught us to do is all focus on that existing demand.
Yes.
And it sells us combines, and we're all trying to harvest the same field of that 3 to 5%, but nobody's planting. And so we have to be able to create the demand in order to have a harvest, because eventually we're going to harvest it all and we're all going to go hungry. And I think that is a lot of what's happening, is that nobody's planting. And ironically, the very martech companies that created this mindset, Eloqua, HubSpot, and Marketo back in the day.
Yes.
What were they doing? Massive brand building. They have some of the biggest founder brand names in the world. Dharmesh Shah, John Miller. These people have huge names, and they're still well known in the marketing industry, because they built their brand and they built content and published and spoke, and their founder brand, but also the brands of the whole team was pushing forward to push out content, convincing everybody that we should only look at attributable content, the attributable marketing strategies. And so it's ironic that we shouldn't look at what they say. We should look at what they do.
Yes. Yes. Cause it's funny that you say that, cause I know that, what you're saying is true because of the HubSpot part of it. And so I didn't know much about the other two, although I have heard of them. So I know that they're big names, but HubSpot would spend so much time creating content around the fact that you don't need that kind of content. You can go straight to ads. And so what happens is you start to look up, and every time you look up everything else, they're still showing up in the same way that you would if they created organic content, but people are only reading it. So I know what you mean by like, do what they're doing, not what they say. Right?
Exactly. But the problem is that brand content, founder brand content in particular, is really hard to measure, and their tech can't measure it. So they're going to focus us on the things that they can measure, because that's what creates the whole value proposition for why you should buy their stuff.
Yes.
So really, companies should spend about 70% of their marketing budget on brand building, on demand it's demand creation. We call it demand generation, but it's really not. It's demand capture is what these martech companies are doing. We need, if you think about a farm metaphor, the farmer spends more time preparing the soil and then planting and then watering and weeding and fertilizing. The harvesting part's just a small segment of their overall time. But if they don't do all of these other things, they're not going to have a harvest. And I think that that's what we really need to rethink, and especially in the age of AI. If we want to be discovered, we have to get out there and be publishing content that is unique and brings out a founder story that's uncopyable, because people can copy your strategy. They can copy your product, but they can't copy you.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I'll speak for like a lot of, entrepreneurs. When we think about the content, there's some people who are like, they get in and they're like creating it and they're amazing. They love it. And then there's some people like me where I'm good at running my mouth, but the moment I have to type something out, it just never really happens. And then it's the circle and the cycle. And I think me and you even actually had a quick conversation about my LinkedIn profile at the end of it. And so to kind of set the tone, when someone thinks of it overall and they're like, man, I'm overwhelmed because there's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. They get overwhelmed. What is some, like, I guess, some sound advice to kind of at least stop the overwhelm and kind of slim it down to what they should or could be doing as far as
Such a good question, and such an important question. Okay, let's kind of chop that up, because you asked actually several things. You asked about channels. You asked about, and the channel overwhelm. You mentioned that you're not comfortable writing, and a lot of people aren't, and that you have all these ideas swirling and they just kind of get flushed down the drain, right? Because you don't use them, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's take those one at a time. We'll start with channels. One is, don't focus on multiple channels. The idea that we can work all of these different channels at once is a fool's errand, in my opinion, because every channel has a different algorithm, a different way that it functions, and you really need to understand the algorithm. TikTok works very differently than LinkedIn. Instagram works differently. And so one, maybe two channels. I do LinkedIn and YouTube, and then I also have my own blog. That's a lot, but I recommend just focusing on one or two channels where your customers are showing up. So if they're not showing up at your blog, then hint, don't focus there. Focus on where your users are going. And one of the beautiful things about LinkedIn now is that it is the number one cited source by AI for business related queries.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So if you're building your brand on LinkedIn, you're visible to your business audience, and you're very visible to AI. And I'm finding that repeatedly when I'm asking these queries, LinkedIn comes up as the citations across Google's AI, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, all of them are citing LinkedIn. So now I'm not saying that LinkedIn is the best channel. It really depends on your customers and where they go. So you really need to think that through. But okay, so then the second question that you asked was, I have all of these ideas swirling around and I'm not a good writer. And that's true for most founders, I find, or if they, writing takes a lot of time. Even if I am a very good writer and I've made my living as a writer for a long time, but even for me, it takes a long time to get that idea articulated, That's where AI becomes our friend, because you can take the ideas that are coming up in sales calls and conversations that you're having with your team or your customers, and just record a little voice note about what happened during the day, and ideas, and even hook ideas if you come across them. And put as much detail in that voice note as you can, and then give that to your preferred AI tool. I recommend Claude for writing. It's the best, a paid version of it. And then let Claude help you craft that into really good content for whatever channel you're going to put it on, because that allows you to make sure it's your content, it's your voice, it's your original ideas. Don't let it do your writing and your thinking for you. You do the thinking, let it articulate it in a more structured manner.
That it's like, yes, lean forward. Don't generate it with AI first, where the brain is like all AI, and then try to fix it. It's like, use you first and have it, add more quality, add more value, make sure it flows better, but not necessarily run off what AI thinks is the best way.
Here's an example of what I did yesterday. So I've been wanting to write this series on founder branding for a while, and was collecting a lot of different articles and thought processes and podcast interviews of some of the top thinkers in this space. And I've been doing that for several months. And so I had like a collection of that content. And so yesterday I sat down and started a Word document with a lot of different ideas. And I just kind of ran through and listed all of the ideas, went through all of the notes and stuff that I'd been collecting and added to that list of ideas, recording voice notes right into my OneNote document of where it's just transcribing it for me and just doing as much as I could to bring up what this article or this blog post or this email sparked in me. And then, so it's my ideas that are sparked by someone else, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I also grabbed quotes from those people so that I could incorporate quotes from these thought leaders. Then I gave Claude that document and I had it look through, and I had 15 ideas. It looked at it and said, I think there's 5 cohesive concepts here. We ended up with 7, but I was able to take all of those ideas. Now, this is not a 5-hour work project. This has been weeks in the works, but over the course of about 5 to 6 hours yesterday, I got 6 in-depth articles written. So now I've got my little content hub and I've got my spokes out, which is important for SEO and GEO. And now the next step will be to write emails about it for my newsletter and LinkedIn posts. But so I have this whole set of content information that took 5 hours. If I had done that by myself without the help of AI, even as a professional writer, that probably would have taken me 3 weeks.
Wow. Yeah, that's cutting down a lot of time. Well, What do you feel like, I guess when it comes to like AI or even just like LinkedIn strategies, what do you feel like people get wrong when it comes to leveraging them?
I think that they're operating like it's still 2012.
Why do you say that?
I don't remember what year it was that HubSpot managed to get the API opened up where it could auto post blogs. But do you remember when it became this big thing that you would go promote your blog post on Twitter and LinkedIn and whatever other social network, and it would like grab like kind of a snippet from the opening of the blog that was supposed to hook them. And then they would click the link and go to your blog. And that created like massive amounts of traffic to your website. For a long time, that worked really, really well, but it stopped working at least 5 years ago, maybe longer. And now it definitely doesn't work. And LinkedIn has been, ironically, LinkedIn penalizes links in posts, but also it penalizes things that are trying to be promotional, and it penalizes things that are trying to take people off platform.
Right.
And then just people are on LinkedIn. We go to LinkedIn with this really short time frame. The average visit to LinkedIn is 1 minute, 27 seconds. They don't have time to go read my 5-minute blog post. They just want an idea, a snippet that they can learn from, maybe engage with and drop a couple of comments, have a little fun conversation with, and then they're going to be on with their day. So I've got to make sure that my content hooks them, is self-contained, so they don't have to know about me, because about 70 of the audience that sees my content now doesn't know who I am. They're new to me. They're outside my network. So it's got to be self-contained. It's got to teach them something useful, or at least make it fun and be commentable and engageable if I want the idea to spread. And very few people write content with that mindset.
I get it. It's kind of taking a step back from the normal, like, kind of like pushing to as much content of whatever it is as possible, because it's just a matter of, if you can get more out, you can get more chances at views, and really put you into more of a consistent flow that a lot of people, I think, are missing. And actually just, like you said, how HubSpot was trying to get people off. Well, now it's like we want to stay on. So even Facebook, Instagram, all of them, it's like, if you can keep them here, we'll show you off. But the moment you have to go to the Wall Street Journal or to anything off platform, now it's like, I don't want that, because I need them to come back here, because that's how we get paid. So that's some good insight. I definitely understand why they would want you to stay there. But like you said, it's LinkedIn and penalized for links.
But it's not just the platform. It's the users. The users didn't go there to go follow a link to your blog.
Right.
They went there to be on LinkedIn. So I don't think it's just the platforms being malicious. I think it's the users, and we need to be conscious of why the users are there and try to meet that need. And then engagement. I mean, comments on posts are fun. It's fun to read the conversation. A lot of times, if you can find a post that has a lot of dialogue in it, you learn as much, if not more, from the comments as you do from the post itself. That the human to human nature of the commenting on LinkedIn brings the richness to a post that the original author can't do by themselves. And so if you can write posts that attract a lot of comments, and you actually have to be engaging yourself too. You got to reply to every comment, have a conversation, don't post and ghost, but also go and engage with other people's content. And there's some really important LinkedIn rules of engagement, I guess, around commenting strategy and engagement strategy. But if you want people to see your post, you got to be present. You can't just post and ghost.
Yeah, post and go. You got to be interactive, engaging. Yeah. I'm learning that. Like, feels like the more I engage, the more LinkedIn likes people engaging, right?
Exactly.
So that's smart. That's something I'm just learning. I wish I would know a long time ago, but I can see where it is. So how do you work with people? Because it does seem like you have the insights to like really walk people. Is it a step by step? Do you kind of review what it is? Like, how do you work with people when they're like, hey, I need you? And what are some of the things you do with them?
So I am specifically oriented around helping founders build their founder brand, because there's a ton of evidence out there that a founder brand drives really significant results. In fact, I have in front of me a study that LinkedIn just published a couple months ago on founder-led brand marketing, sales and marketing. And their point was that so when founders are posting consistently and engaging consistently on LinkedIn, they generate 33% more leads than those who don't. And that's based on using ads. So if they're active on LinkedIn, their ads bring in 33% more leads than companies that aren't using founder-led content. Deals close faster. Gong data found that, and this is across all of Gong users, not just Gong's own work, but they're finding that deals close 22% faster when the buyer feels that they know you as the founder. Sendozo found a 3.7x higher deal size when the executives are being followed by the prospects, not the company page, the executives.
Really?
Yeah. So LinkedIn published this playbook for founder-led sales and marketing, and I highly recommend going and if you just search Google for it, you'll find it. And it's really interesting, the insight and what they were able to dig out. So they also found that they get a significant increase to win rates and closed won. So if you think about your win rate, if you get 100 good quality opportunities and you close 10 of them, you have a 10% win rate, right? They find that the win rate goes up by 11 when a prospect is exposed to a post from a director or executive, and 120% higher close won rate when the prospect follows that director or executive on LinkedIn.
Those are the numbers you need to know, right? You know, we talk so much about cost per lead, cost per acquisition, and all these different things. But the fact that just alone, obviously, you know, you can increase those numbers depending on the quality, but consistent posting, getting people to post, to follow you, to comment, increasing your numbers dramatically, like 100 up to 120%, even just the 11% of your close ratio, right? Most people are probably around like an 8 to 11 anyway, and people will think 15 and 20 is like amazing. So to think you could even just double your close percentage from posting and commenting.
Well, there's another factor from this too, is that you don't have to be viral for these outcomes to be happening.
Right.
And also with AI citation, I just last week came across a post from a friend of mine. I don't remember the query, what I had asked AI, but Google's AI surfaced a post from her that had gotten 0 engagement. And we had always thought that engagement mattered to whether AI would see the content as credible. But AI used her post in the answer and cited her post, even though it hadn't gotten hardly any engagement, which we thought was really fascinating. She said it had gotten about 400 impressions and it had a handful of likes, but no comments.
That's interesting. I wonder if it was just the context made them believe it along with the person.
Yeah, it was definitely contextual, but that's the point, is it sourced a post as its answer because it was contextually relevant. And she, as an author, has credibility because both LinkedIn and our AI bots are looking for a fingerprint, a content fingerprint. Do you have credibility in this subject matter rather than just having one viral post? So it's going to look at Tavius and say, does Tavius actually have credibility around how to lower my my vendor fee or my merchant processing fees, so that when I ask AI, it's like, I'm getting charged these ridiculous merchant processing fees from Kajabi. How do I get them down? If I ask my AI that, and you've been publishing a lot of content around that topic, then it's going to source you as a credible answer to that question.
Got it. I like that. Okay. That's definitely understanding. And I like how you talked about like how you work with people and understanding, but how did you even get here? Right? What's the story or the journey that you went through to get to the point where you're starting to help people increase their visibility in their content? Because most people don't just like, ooh, I love creating content for people. So how did you get to this point?
From a founder branding perspective and just a kind of a brand visibility, I've been working in that space for a long time. I've co-founded a couple of technology companies in 2000 and 2005. So this is before blogging, before LinkedIn. But we had to get our message out there. And so I was using methods of publishing in trade publications and finding opportunities for PR, to get quoted by trade pubs. But also I was writing syndicated content for them clear back then because we were trying to promote a whole new category of technology to the Wall Street type of firms. And we had to get the message across in order to create the demand. I was doing what HubSpot and Marketo were doing, just not at the scale that they figured out how to do it. Then in 2005, we co-founded another company that was in complex event processing, which is still a term that most people don't know anything about. But there were 5 companies all trying to promote this type of technology in 2005, 2006, and 2007 even. And we all started blogging about it and building visibility that way. We had conferences, and a rising tide lifts all boats. And in the CEP space, we were fiercely competitive, but we also kind of collaborated around the messaging and figuring out how to get it across. And we were successful because today you will not find a firm on Wall Street that doesn't have complex event processing technology embedded in their trading technology. So we did accomplish that, but it really proved to me the value of a brand. Now, my company failed spectacularly, and I thought that was going to tank my personal brand. I thought my career was over because of that failure. But what I found out was that my brand and my credibility that I had built during that time lasted beyond that company. And I started Propel Growth, and actually the 4 remaining companies all worked with me over the next 2 or 3 years to help them with their visibility and positioning and go-to-market strategy. And I was able to help all of them end up getting acquired. So we spread the word. They became acquisition targets. It was very rewarding, not financially because I didn't take a stake in them, dumb, but it was rewarding from the perspective of helping them build that visibility. So I've always understood the value of founder branding and trying to bring executive teams into the picture because it built trust faster than anything else that we did from a marketing perspective. Then in 2000, I started doing a lot of LinkedIn training around strategies for social selling. And one of the keys is creating content and posting and engaging and commenting on LinkedIn. But all of my training programs, I had so much trouble getting people to actually write the posts. They would go and comment, they would send the DMs and the connection requests, but they wouldn't post. And so they weren't building credibility or visibility. And they needed that in order to make the rest of the system work. So I finally pivoted my business away from training last year and am creating the content for people. So I do exactly what I told you to do, I grab their transcripts from their customers, pull out what are the customers asking about? What are the questions that keep coming up? What are the objections that keep coming up? Where do they have these aha moments where they suddenly get it? And what drove that aha moment? And I can then pull, especially if the founder was on that sales call, it's super helpful. I pull out what the founder was saying. And then I give them post ideas. It's like, okay, you said this, Tavius, on that call. This is what the customer asked. This is what you said. Tell me more about that. And I'll interview you about it. Capture your voice. I'm recording that. I'm getting a transcript. And now I have all the fodder I need to write posts that are in your voice. They're your unique ideas. They sound like you, but it's ghost written. So now you have to go post it and you need to go do the commenting and engaging on LinkedIn. But I've taken off of your plate that 5-hour project of just trying to figure out how to write that post.
Right. What should I say? Should I say this? Is it the right way to say it? What time of the day should I post? Just
how the heck do I write a hook? Yeah, right. Like hooks, like they're so hard.
Yeah, people will spend all day on just the hook and then they get the right hook and then they write the body and go, well, this body doesn't go with the hook. I got to redo the hook, right?
Yep. Happens all the time. So I take all that off their plate.
Got it. What is one thing? I do want you to tell me like how people can work with you or get in touch with you if they can. But if you wanted them to know anything about you or working with you or just about what you do, just tell them what you would love for them to know. And then how can they could get in touch with you if they want to know more?
I guess I'm a founder too. I've been building my founder brand for two and a half decades. And I get what a pain in the butt it is. I understand the problem of spinning a lot of plates because as founders, we're spinning so many plates and then somebody quits or goes on maternity or paternity leave or gets sick and suddenly you've got to pick up another plate and you're already, you've got one on your pinky, one on your thumb and one on your head and you got your nose up and, and a foot up behind you. And it's like, I can't spin any more plates. I get that. But the fact is that this founder branding is the one thing that only you can do. Only you can be you. You've got the strategy. You understand the why behind the business and the vision and the purpose and the mission better than anybody else in your team. You can communicate it like no one else can. Now, maybe you're the CEO and you're not the founder and there's somebody else that's driving strategy in your firm. Then I get it. That's that person. But the person who is responsible strategically for the direction of the firm, for the why of the product, for the why you get up in the morning, that person needs to be building brand and evangelizing. And I get that you have a lot of other things to do, but I would posit that this is the number one most important thing that only you can do. And so I would love to help take some of that weight off of it for you so that there's at least a smaller plate to spin. But if you're not spinning the founder brand plate because you feel like you don't have time, I will assure you that if you're not planting that field that you need to harvest later, you will have lots of time on your hands later. And that's not a good thing.
Right. That's awesome. Thank you for that. So one more time, how can they reach out to you? How can they get in touch with you if they want to know
Find
more?
me on LinkedIn. My name is an unusual spelling. And so it makes me pretty darn easy to find. I'm Candyce Edelen on LinkedIn. And the dot is intentional because I hate it when bots message me on LinkedIn or they scrape the name and it comes off in emails. And so I can always know that they're automating because it's like, hi, Candyce period or a period, comma.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. So it's like Candyce, but it takes the period. So it's 2 periods there.
Yeah.
I
Or
like
comma,
that.
period, comma. Like, yeah, great punctuation there. That's why the period's
smart.
there. It's a great way to flesh out the bots.
Yes. I like your thinking. Awesome.
I have a hashtag in my LinkedIn bio that says hashtag no bots.
Yes, I did see that. Hashtag no bots. I thought you meant like with the no bots. I thought that was like, okay, like, hey, I'm going to show you do human to human. You don't really need bots. That's what I thought.
Well,
but
that
it
too.
plays on both. I like that.
Yeah. I really don't like automation in outreach. I don't think you can automate a relationship with a human being.
Yeah.
So no commenting with automation either.
And it felt weird. Like I was going to start automating the LinkedIn DMs and I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. If I can't spend 30 minutes to send 30 messages, then it must not be worth it. I'll figure I got to have that human to human. Right.
Good decision.
But I did think about it. I was like, man, I don't have time. You just got to make the time. It's not like you need 5 hours for the DM part, but so I understand.
No, and it's quality over quantity because we look at, conversion ratios, based on poor outreach. And we think we need to reach 1,000 people to get one response. But no, I mean, if you do it well, you'll get 40% response rate. And so you don't need nearly as many messages to get good response rates.
Right. That makes sense. And so with LinkedIn already like limiting, even Facebook does it too, like certain amount of messages. If you're already limited, why expend it all on the lowest quality form when the higher quality of you just doing human to human is going to get you better leads anyway?
Treat people with
if you could send 1,000 every day, great. Use AI. The numbers make sense. But sometimes it's like, especially if you're just starting out, it's like 20 or 30 that you can send. Maximize that, right? I definitely understand.
Yeah, I treat people with respect and they will respond accordingly. Trust is really hard to build and really easy to break. And it's at its most fragile at the very beginning of that relationship.
Yes.
So I had AI reach out to me. This guy was using an AI bot to communicate with me and it was pretty obvious. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. So I engaged him in dialogue. And I could tell just the way that the responses were structured, that it was AI. And he finally then joined the conversation and acknowledged that it was AI. But by that time, he's completely broken trust. And so now I don't want anything to do with them except to turn him into one of my hashtag Monday markups. Look that up on LinkedIn.
Those don't do's.
You do not want to be an example in my Monday markups. Now I obfuscate their identity. I'm not naming and shaming people, but it was a great example because then we have like this whole discussion on LinkedIn about how do you feel when you've been duped by AI, where somebody pretended AI impersonated you and then you show up and you don't sound anything like the AI and people just feel duped. And it's like, there's a whole conversation on that post that was last Monday. And, it's like, it pisses people off. And so I call that alienation at scale.
Right. Because some people are okay with it. They'll be like, if they know right off the gate, they're like, thank you. I don't want to talk to anybody anyway. But it's the perception that you think you're talking to a person.
Exactly.
And then something comes up like the M dash or something. You're like, wait a minute, people don't talk like that. Something's off. And right when that happens, you've already started to go, well, why did you do that? Are you trying to trick me? Am I just a number? I can see how that could kind of spiral away from something.
And trust just plummets. It's like you've started a conversation with somebody and then you blow it by destroying their trust. You're not going to get it back. Like I will not have, and ironically, that person offers a similar service to me. And I was asking him at the beginning, why are you approaching a competitor? But, it's like, it was stupid on so many layers.
Right. That's someone who did that. And they were in the merchant service and I reached out to them and they thought it was AI and they tried, they asked me the same thing. Well, why would you do that when you're a competitor? And I'm like, I think it's a fun conversation to have because you are a competitor. I don't think people genuinely do that. And he was like, wait, you're real? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm real. What do you mean? He was like, I was just expecting you to give some, I guess the roundabout, AI always BS's its way through that portion when you ask them straight up, like the question about that. And so I know what you mean. It's funny how like people will do it. And then the moment the real part of them sees that they're a competitor, And then the conversation stops and it's like, you should have wasted your AI's time in the first place. But as you see, I know this is a topic me and you could talk about a whole nother podcast for an hour about AI. We talked about tips before now, Claude tips and things like that. So I know we can talk about that.
And I love AI. Just for the record, I use AI every single day. I use AI in the delivery of services for clients. I just don't think we should use AI to impersonate ourselves.
Right.
Elvis impersonators are fine. Candace impersonators, no.
Yeah. I think of it like sort of like an up and coming limitless pill, right? Where it enhances what you already are. Do not use it to replace who you are, right? It's
Exactly.
like, ooh, I don't want, I don't want to pay for someone's expertise to understand LinkedIn and to understand engagement. So I'm going to ask AI, how do I engage? Then they create something and then you go and just repeat whatever AI is. That doesn't work. It just doesn't. It doesn't know enough about you, your topic, your interest. No matter how many questions you ask it, it's going to forget the beginning questions by the time you get to the end. So there does need to be that human side of it. And once you use the human and it's human led, the AI can boost the capabilities of the human to a higher level. That's how I think of it, more the generative AI automation solutions, making you better and faster at what you do, not replacing your own brain of thinking like something.
Totally agree with you. Yeah.
But also, I do appreciate, us having the conversation and understanding what visibility means for a business and how things are kind of moving full circle. It seemed like in the beginning of like the internet and growing, especially with like affiliate marketing and all these different things, that like your content, what you published, the blogs, the posts, so that spiders can crawl and kind of grab that information was important. And then it became this whole, hey, that takes too much time. Just run ads. And then people went away from it. And now AI is back and AI is looking for it. And it's like, well, I don't care about your ads. What are people saying online? And what? Right back to creating blogs and posts so the spiders can crawl. And it's just funny how that goes full circle.
That's a good point. Yeah. AI doesn't care about your ads. Doesn't even see them probably.
Right. And so it's like fun back full circle, to your content and visibility is there. So I think that's awesome. But how's Candice outside of work? When you're not helping people build their brand, actually become acquired and all the different amazing things you do, what do you do outside of work to kind of digress and just have fun?
I read voraciously. I like fiction. When I'm off, I don't really want to work. And so I don't tend to, I'll read biographies and memoirs sometimes, but mostly fiction. And right now I am completely enamored with Ken Follett's work around his historical fiction, starting with Pillars of the Earth. And so I'm reading 2 books at a time right now, just devouring these really thick, 1,000-page novels. They're excellent.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you try to find time to travel and get new experiences with food and things like that?
Yeah. We actually just came back from 3 weeks in Italy and France. So we spent some time in Lake Como area and some time on the French Riviera. And I think by the time we got home, I was very ready to come home after 3 weeks. But by the time we walked in our front door, I was like, okay, when can we go again?
I love that. I love that. When you can come back and the first thing you're thinking of is going back, it was a great vacation.
It was so much fun. We had a lovely time. Ready to go again.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. So one last question, just based on everything that you do, what's your favorite part about what you do when it comes to helping your clients?
I love pulling stories out of founders because every founder has this unique point of view. It's why they started a business, or even if they acquired the business or they came up and inherited the business or were a hired gun, they're there because they have this unique point of view, this unique way of seeing a customer's situation and a problem in the marketplace, and a unique point of view on the brand villains that they're trying to fix in the world. And I love finding that story and that point of view and being able to help them articulate it. It's just an absolute joy for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That's a good part to end up on, feeling like you actually genuinely care about the results, but getting that story is fun. I know what you feel because that's why I love these podcasts. I love getting their story out and just like seeing their reaction, seeing it's like, man, when was the last time they've been able to tell that? Because you could tell that it lights them up. And I could see why, if, especially as founders, if they're not on podcasts and things like that, where they don't get to tell it, when you could pull that story out and then they know how they can use it. I can tell that it's so much fun.
You're a great interviewer. This has been fun. And we still have to talk about reducing my merchant fees.
We'll definitely talk about it.
Because I spent a fortune on them. And it's like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out a better way to do this.
We'll definitely get with you on that. But I want to thank you so much for coming on here and giving our audience, your knowledge, your time, your energy. This has been so much fun. And one more time, if people wanted to reach out to you, even if they just don't know, maybe if they're ready to work with you or if they should work with you, how can they reach out to you?
So find me on LinkedIn, Candyce Edelen, or you can also go check out my website, propelgrowth.com. I've got a blog there, and by the time this is live, my whole series on founder-led branding will be live too. There's currently 6 articles. There will be one more, and so it'll just kind of walk through why a founder brand is so important, how martech screwed us all over, and why we've got to rethink demand creation versus demand capture. And then I walk through the pillars and how to determine your content pillars and give you a framework for thinking it through, the metrics that you can use to track whether you're being successful, how long it takes. So go check that out, because I've really spent a lot of time researching the top thinkers in the space on this, and I think you'll find some useful ideas for how to think about branding from this perspective. And it's not hard. It just requires commitment. It doesn't even require a ton of time, just commitment.
Yeah, it's just work. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like, it's not hard, but it still requires work, still requires consistency. And I love that. So
yeah,
thank you so much. I'm going to make sure I put that in the bio section so people have easy access to it. So this has been so much fun. We got to do this again. I want to do this again and just do it all on AI and just have fun picking each other's brain about it, what we're doing with it.
Oh, that would be a blast, because I've been having so much fun with it. So
me too. It's been a lot of fun. So thank you so much one more time for joining us. It's been a lot of fun today.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you love my style of podcasting. And again, if you even are just thinking about it, maybe you're, on the fence, or maybe you're just like, I don't even know, I'm not really thinking about it. Send an email, reach out to Candyce, and maybe, to like move you in the right direction, whether you need to work with them or not, you'll be able to get the right direction of what's next, what's best for you. So thank you for watching another episode of the Fix My Fees podcast. Hopefully I didn't bore you with any merchant services. So thank you for watching, and good night.